Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to HIMediaTV. I am your host, Evan from HIMediaTV. And welcome back to HIMedia Headlines for today, December the 21st, 2025. The last few episodes we've had have been a little not wonderful in news in terms of things going on. And this is not wonderful news either, but it is quaint. Google has killed support for the Dreamcast web browser after 25 years. That's real. The Planet 3 web browser on Sega Dreamcast has been going nonstop for 25 years, and Google just discontinued support for it. This is very funny. And the reason I find it very funny is that Google killed Stadia after a lot less time, and they still left Dreamcast web browsing go on, which is very funny. So for my fellow, Gen Zers in the audience who are unaware and younger, the Sega Dreamcast was probably one of the greatest consoles that ever existed. It just missed its mark. The Sega Dreamcast and, the Sega in general were actually on the cutting edge of, gaming things. They were just limited by the tech of their time. They were the first company to implement a online web store. They were the first company to implement online gaming in general. They led the way in 3D graphics. Sega was, before they just became, a company that turns, Sonic fans and nostalgia into, and grind it into money and disappointment. They were actually like one of the on the cutting edge of gaming in ways that Nintendo wasn't. And the Sega Dreamcast was their last console, or no, I think I lied. I think the Sega Saturn was their last console. Correct me in the comments, please. And, again, the Sega Dreamcast had a web browser on it in 2001. Like, this was still during the days when I believe you still had to pay for, Net Navigator and other web browsers where you had to pay for them. Regardless. Sad day. Not totally unsurprised that it's getting discontinued, but I am surprised that it did take 25 years to do so. The Sega Dreamcast can vote. The Sega Dreamcast can rent a car. The Sega Dreamcast has been kicked off its parents' insurance. So, I think that this is funny. And what's even funnier is that it isn't even a thing where Google deliberately did it. It's just they had a compatibility window that had remained ajar for a quarter century, and they just didn't notice. Probably because the traffic of which was, so negligible, it completely went under their radar. But, que sera. I don't know. I just thought, despite this being, mildly sad news, I wanted something, quaint to remind you guys about something interesting and something cool that was, a thing. But regardless, ladies and gentlemen, this has been HIMedia Headlines for today, December the 21st, 2025. If you like the show, join our Discord. We've got an awesome Discord. I've spent years building this community, and I'm quite proud of it. Regardless, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to HIMediaTV. I have been your host, Evan from HIMediaTV, and I'll see you guys next time.